friends, it's Jessie here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For today's video, I am going to be going over my results for the last paycheck in October. We're going to be talking about how I did, if I stuck to my budget. We're going to go through and enter in all of my expenses for the week. And then my November budget is going to be a separate video, so you will see that in a few days. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about is sinking funds, where the money for the sinking funds is going to go and what the plan is for sinking funds moving forward. I was going to make that a separate video, but honestly, I don't think you guys are all that interested in the sinking fund money. What you are interested in, I think, is savings challenges. So there will be a separate savings challenge video coming either later this week or early next week, where some of that money is going to go. But in terms of the actual sinking funds, I'm not going to film a whole separate video on that. I'm just going to kind of touch on that a little bit in this video. So if you're interested in all of those things, just keep watching. Okay, so I made some adjustments to the camera and to the lighting. I'm honestly not sure if it helped or hurt, but we're going to go with it. Let's start talking about everything we spent. From October 24th to October 30th, it's a lot. Spoiler alert, we're over budget. This past week was incredibly hard and stressful, and my budget reflects that. We did a lot of eating out. We were just not on top of everything. Things didn't go quite the way we planned. We made the best out of it, the best that we could, but definitely some overspending this week. So I'm gonna actually fold this in half, and I'm gonna zoom you guys in just a touch. And we're going to start writing in everything we spent this week by category. Starting with October 25th, we didn't have any spending on the 24th, luckily, but 25th is when things started to get a little hectic, and definitely reflects that. The first thing though is motorcycle insurance. That's a bill that we planned for and that came out just as anticipated at $21.26. And then we went to Taco Bell and grabbed a quick lunch. Yeah, this past week was just very stressful at work. It was stressful at home. I struggled through it a lot. My healthy way of eating definitely fell by the wayside this past week, unfortunately. It was just not a good week, and sometimes that happens. It's okay. We're gonna get through it, but I'm definitely gonna have to do some damage control with the budget. So that was lunch at Taco Bell for $12.90. And then we did dinner at KFC. This is all the 25th, not the 26th. I'm trying to get ahead of myself here. Luckily, I have this erasable pen from Parku. So KFC, and that amount was $31.42. That was also eating out. Trying not to shake this table. But I don't think I'm doing a very good job, so I apologize if this is a little shaky. I'm filming at home. Usually I film these at work, just making the best of everything. At least the lighting I feel like is better in this video than it has been in the past few videos, so I'm grateful for that. All right. Also on the 25th, we picked up some groceries from Meijer in an attempt to mitigate the eating out. It didn't work. We continued to eat out the rest of the week quite a bit, but we tried. So that was grocery, and the amount that I spent was $114.16. Okay. On the 26th, we had to pick up some medication at the pharmacy, and that was $12.49. And I'm just going to title this as part of our miscellaneous expenses, I guess. One of the things that I'm really hoping to have in November is a sinking fund for medical expenses, a sinking fund for some of these other things that kind of came up throughout the week, but have not yet implemented those, so this came out of our weekly budget. Then we got Chinese food for lunch. That's another eating out expense. That was $46.29. On 10/28, I did a little bit of Christmas shopping. I'm not going to say much more than that because my kids can probably hear me as I'm filming this. I'm just going to include this as a miscellaneous expense because we don't really have any savings set aside for Christmas this year. We had Christmas savings. We ended up lumping that into the savings that we had for my son Austin's car. And so we do have some credit card rewards that we plan to use for Christmas, quite a few that we've built up throughout the year. That'll take care of the majority of it, but a few miscellaneous purchases we're just gonna have to figure out how to make it work this year. So I'm just gonna put Christmas shopping. That was miscellaneous. The amount that I spent was $48.81. But at least our Christmas shopping has begun. I feel really good about that. Okay. Also on 10/28, my husband went to the BP station, picked us up some drinks and stuff, so I guess I could include that as grocery. And that was $8.38. And then also on 10/28, we went to McDonald's. We went to my brother-in-law's birthday party, and then on the way home from that birthday party, we stopped at McDonald's for a quick bite. And that was $33.91. Also on 10/28, we had to go to PetSmart to pick up some pet supplies. This is another one of those sinking funds that I hope to begin in November so that it doesn't have to come out of our weekly budget, but for now it's just miscellaneous, and that was $33.91. Oops. McDonald's was transposed these. McDonald's was $29.32. Highly recommend erasable pens for your budget or writing in pencil, especially if you make mistakes like me. $33.91 was PetSmart. Okay. On 10/28, Taco Bell again. And I actually feel like this was not 10/28. It might have been one of these other days, and it just took a couple of days for it to show up on my credit card statement. Because we put everything on a credit card and then we pay the credit card off each week. $49.15 was that amount. Yeah, definitely not a good week spending wise. On 10/28, I spent some money. I ordered Britney Spears's new biography because, of course, I have to read it. And that was $21.14. That came out of my spending. Okay. 10/29, we went to a local market to pick up a couple of things that we needed for my husband to cook dinner. Hallelujah, we cooked finally. So that was grocery. And that amount was $9.06. Also on 10/29, my Netflix bill came out. That is considered a bill, and that amount is $15.49. Alrighty. On 10/30, my husband had a doctor's appointment, and so he had to pay $35. And that's also going to come out of miscellaneous. Also on 10/30, we had my husband's X-Maps app, I think is what it's called. I don't actually know what it's called. That's what it shows up on my credit card report as, or my credit card statement. It's an app that he uses to help him with his hunting, to know like where state land is and what's private property, that sort of thing. That was $15.89. On 10/30, we went to our favorite little cafe for lunch. That was $21.76. And last but not least, on 10/30, we put in a Walmart grocery order. And that was $169.49. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of spending this week. I'm gonna go in really quickly and just highlight everything and add everything up so that I can then use those numbers to help me fill in my paycheck budget. So I've got this great big thing of super tips I'm gonna use to help me kind of color code everything. And we're gonna start with eating out because I feel like that's the biggest expense this week. I'm gonna use yellow for that. And I'm just gonna highlight as I go and add these up. So $12.90 plus $31.42 plus $46.29 plus, oops, that was grocery. That shouldn't have been highlighted in yellow. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen. $29.32 plus $49.15 plus $21.76. So provided I didn't miss anything, $190.84 in eating out this past week, which is wild. That's a lot of money. I feel like we've definitely spent more money than that in some months or some weeks, but definitely over budget in that category. Okay, and then we have grocery, which I'm going to use this pink color for. And start with Meijer for $114.16. Here's this grocery transaction here, $8.38. It's kind of orange now, combination of the pink and yellow, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. If I wanted it to be perfect, I would have used my erasable highlighters. $9.06, which I totally forgot I had until this very moment, plus $169.49. So $301.09 for groceries. Considering how much we ate out, that is way too much to be spending on groceries in a week. We didn't even eat most of that food. I feel like it's all still in my fridge. $301.09 for grocery. And then we will use green for miscellaneous. Quite a few miscellaneous expenses here. So we've got $12.49 plus $48.81 plus $33.91 plus $35 plus $15.89 for a total of $146.10 in miscellaneous. Okay, what else do we have? We have bills and spending. I don't really need a total for bills, but I'll just go ahead and highlight them and get a total anyway, just for funsies. So we had $21.26 plus $15.49. Luckily, most of our bills for the month were already paid, so the bills aren't kind of too much this week. $36.75 in bills. And then lastly, we have my spending, which I'm going to do in purple. And that was just $21.14. Not too bad. Let me know if you've read Britney Spears' memoir yet. I would love to hear from you. I purchased it. It's sitting next to my bed. I have not yet Started reading it, but I imagine it's going to be very interesting. All right, so that's all of the spending. Now we're going to use these numbers to help me fill in my paycheck budget. So let's start out here. Hopefully you guys can see everything okay. Let's start out here with Netflix. So I budgeted $16 for Netflix. And what did I say it came out at? $15.49. So under budget there. It's good to see we're under budget in at least one place. Motorcycle insurance, I budgeted $25, and the amount that came out was $21.26. I budgeted $50 for the buffer. I can tell you that that's probably not enough. I haven't actually added everything up yet, but I imagine it's going to be more than $50 that we overspent by. I'm just going to leave that for now and move down here to grocery. So grocery, I budgeted $250. We already know I spent $301.09. So over budget there. For eating out, I budgeted $100. I spent $190.84, so almost double there. For spending, I budgeted $50. I only spent $21.14, so that's good. But unfortunately, being under budget in that category is not going to be enough to kind of shift everything in my favor here. For miscellaneous, I budgeted $50 and I spent $146.10. So even with that buffer amount, yeah, not quite enough. Let me get a total here really quickly. So I budgeted $450 for this section here, and I spent $659.17. Okay. For sinking funds, I did go ahead and put $300 aside. If you're not familiar with how I do my budget, I kind of start out with the amount that I plan to budget for the week. This is not my income for the week. This is just kind of the part of my income that I set aside for this budget. So even though we were over budget, and you will see that reflected here, I pulled money out to kind of cover the difference. So this buffer amount here, I only budgeted $50. But I had more money than $50 to kind of make up the difference here. If I had only been working with $1,000, I would have been in trouble. And that's part of the reason why budgeting is so important, and especially a zero-based budget. In the past, when I filmed my budget videos here for YouTube, I have shared like real numbers, shown you exactly how much we have in the bank. I don't do that anymore just for privacy reasons. And I've had a couple of comments with people saying, you know, these budgets aren't helpful if you're not giving us the whole picture or if you're leaving out information. And if you think that, that's fine. This is the best way that I can share my budget now with the changes in our household income and everything, with us running our own business. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm sharing what I can and what I'm comfortable with. Hopefully you still find these types of videos helpful. If not, there are loads of other budgeting videos on YouTube. Maybe I'm just not for you, and that's okay. You know, things change, things evolve. If you don't find this helpful, that's totally fine. If you do and you continue watching, I appreciate it. So even though I was over budget, and I'm gonna go over this $1,000 that I had allotted for the week, I'm okay with it because I have the money in my account to cover it. That hasn't always been the case. There's definitely been times when I've gone over budget and it added to my credit card debt, or I had to shift things around. You've seen me like not set aside as much for savings or sinking funds. In this case, I only had $1,000 that I thought I was going to spend this week. And I say only, I know that $1,000 is a lot of money and it's all subjective, but I've definitely had weeks where we've had to budget quite a higher number here. So the fact that it was only $1,000 that I had kind of pulled from my income to put towards this week, and the fact that it came out more than that, just with the crazy week we had, I'm able to cover it. It's just that the $50 I set aside for a buffer wasn't quite enough. I had to pull a little bit more. So hopefully that makes sense. I did send $159 to the city card like I anticipated doing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in these numbers. Yeah, so this is $1,000 here. This buffer of $50 helped make a dent in some of the overspending, but just it didn't quite cover everything. So let me get a total for this section. $1,549 plus $2,126 plus 50. $86.75 here. Okay, so the income amount, or the amount that I budgeted, was $1,000. In the checking section, I spent $86.75. In the cash envelope section, I spent $659.17. In the sinking fund section, it was $300. In the extra debt section, it was $159. Now, if we do some math here, and we take the $1,000 I started with, and I subtract $86.75, I subtract $659.17, I subtract $300, I subtract $159. You can see that we are $204.92 over budget. So I'm actually going to put this in red, $204.92. And I'm going to go into my savings and pull this $204.92 to make up the difference and make this a zero-based budget. So the actual amount that I spent was $1,204.92 when I only planned to spend $1,000. So yes, over budget. With the crazy week we had and the amount of stress we were under and everything, honestly, it could have been a lot worse. I know that $200 for some people's budgets would totally break them and cause a major problem. For us, we're lucky enough that we have that extra $200 in savings set aside, so we can just pull from that and still come out ahead. The benefit of raising our income has helped with that, but also like being on a budget for all of these years and having money set aside for sinking funds, having a buffer, having an emergency fund, having all of those things in place helps us out when we have a week where we overspend. So if you are just getting started with budgeting, I highly recommend that you start out, whether or not you think that Dave Ramsey is like a finance guru, or if you think he's, you know, old-fashioned, whatever, his first baby step is getting that emergency fund, and I couldn't agree more with that. Whether it's $500, $1,000, $1,500, whatever you are comfortable with, have that set aside for an emergency, 4 weeks. When you go over budget, you have a stressful week, you eat out more than you thought you would, a bill comes up that you didn't plan for. These things happen in our budget, and having that emergency fund, having that buffer, having that cushion really is going to make your budget so much easier. So that's going to do it for my paycheck budget. Overall, for the month of October, I feel like we did really well. Even though we were over budget this week, there were definitely weeks where we had money that we rolled over. That's part of that money I was talking about with the more than $1,000. A lot of these weeks we rolled money over, $90 here, $62 here. So that really helped out as well. Let's talk really quickly about sinking funds and how I'm going to go about those. So you can see each week this month, I set aside some money for sinking funds. And in the past, I've done sinking funds in cash. I don't have the time for that these days. I don't have the motivation to do that these days. Instead, what I'm going to do is take this money and I'm going to move it to a savings account. I'm going to have all of my money in one account, and I'm just going to keep track of everything. I know I have my sinking funds page here somewhere. I'm going to keep track of everything just on paper, not in cash. Maybe I didn't print it. Apparently I didn't print it, but I'm going to do this kind of off camera on my own anyway. I'm just going to keep track of how much money is going in and out, and just have all of my money in one savings account rather than pulling it all out in cash. I did though pull out some cash because part of what I want to do with some of the sinking fund money is start some savings challenges. So I have this beautiful savings challenge book that my friend Marlene created. I plan on using this as well as some other fun savings challenges to help me save for things that aren't necessarily needs, they're more wants. And also to start saving for a down payment on a house. That's something that we hope to achieve, is to set aside enough money to have a down payment on a future home someday. It's going to be a major goal for 2024. But I think I'm going to use some of these savings challenges to help with that and just make it a little bit more fun. So if you want to see a video on my sinking funds, what I plan to do with the funds, how I'm going to break it down, I'd be happy to film that, but there's not going to be any cash involved. And I know what everybody really liked to see in those videos was the cash stuffing. So leave me a comment down below if you want to see that. I'd be happy to film it. Otherwise, I'll just kind of keep that to myself and do it privately. And you guys will see the savings challenges in an upcoming video. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's a wrap to my October budget. We will be moving into November very, very soon. Very excited about it. If you have not yet created your November budget and you would like to twin with me, I don't think I have them in here, but my November budget printables are available in my Etsy shop, which I'll have linked down below. You can grab those, get them printed and set up so that you can set up your November budget with me, and that video will be up probably early next week. A little late, but just with my filming schedule, that's kind of the way it all fell out. So enough rambling. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.